So if your meta ads aren't working like they were before, or you're just not scaling the way that you were before, there's probably a reason for that. And that's because the meta algorithm has made quite a sizable shift in the beginning of this year, of 2025. And I think there's not really a lot of noise about this. There's not really many people talking about this. There's not really a lot of information about it. So I'm going to try to explain exactly how the algorithm has shifted and how you can make the most of it and how you can set up your ad account for maximum success this year to make the most of the update. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Lewin. I've profitably generated over $40 million in online sales for Shopify stores. Personally made 7 figures as a result of doing so. I'm not saying that to brag or to gloat. That's just purely to add weight to what I'm saying so that you understand that I'm qualified to speak on this topic. So if you are unaware, over the past few years, everything has been going more creative driven. Now, Meta has just taken a very, very big step further in that direction to make sure that there is no sort of like big audience buckets and that every user is being targeted differently, or so that's what Meta is hoping to do. And they're using more so their preferences, their browsing history, their app activity, and just their general consumer behavior to feed them ads that are more relevant to them. And you might think that that's already happened, but it hasn't happened to quite the extent of which it has now. As of this year, there's been a bit more of a leap in that direction this year. And so basically, people interact with ads and content on these platforms in very different ways. Some people are most likely to purchase from a single image, like graphic, static. Some people are more likely to purchase from a video of like a talking head or a UGC, like unboxing video, or some people are more likely to convert or interact with a carousel of like a features breakdown, like a features and benefits kind of breakdown kind of thing. So there's loads of different formats of media that people interact with differently. There's definitely loads of different subsections of media that people interact with mostly. And so essentially what you want to be doing is making sure that your ad account is being fed with as much variety and as much volume as possible, so that Meta can then utilize all of those different inputs and all of the different variety to basically hit as many different people as possible. And so this is one of the keys, and this is one of the big factors as to why some brands are sort of scaling at a pace, that's way ahead of anybody else, versus some that are kind of like, the growth is there, but it can plateau sometimes. It's not as linear. It's not as consistent. And it's just basically because they're appealing to more variety of people, more variety of the market. And because of the volume of that variety, they're able to get in front of them more times, and they're able to essentially clean up a bigger portion of the market, because not only do they have many, many different varieties of content, but they have lots and lots of volume for each of those varieties. So, for the people that are going to most likely interact with those single image static graphics, for example, they've got 10 to 20 different variations of that. And then of those variations, they've got 10 to 20 different pieces of that. So, and then obviously same for videos, same for UGC. I mean, even like having a successful video and then putting like 10 to 20 different hooks on the start of it. So cutting out the first 3 to 5 seconds and replacing it with a different hook. Obviously, they know that the main body of the video converts and works. So just by switching up the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video, you're getting thumb stops, you're getting people's attention of a much different, broader variety of people. Because again, people's attention is hooked by different things. And people have different preferences in the way that they scroll, the time of day that they scroll, the time of day that they're most likely to purchase. Like, there are so many different variables on these platforms now, and in terms of consumer behavior, that it's just a case of, if you have more variety and more volume on these platforms, your ad account has more variety and more volume, you're basically just feeding Meta with all the tools that it needs to be able to convert every single section of the market and every different type of person. So that is really, really important. Now, if you're only running like one or two different ad types, like if you've got single images in there and then you've got some videos in there, you're just leaving so much opportunity on the table. Like you're just not giving Meta the tools that it needs to be able to hit all of the different aspects of the market and all the different types of customers. That's just not really what it's built for anymore. So think about it in relation to ChatGPT, for example. So obviously, if you give it like a very, very basic prompt, if you just say like, I don't know, for example, create me an ad caption for this brand, right? Like it's going to give you, obviously it's smart, it's comprehensive, it's going to give you a result. But if you were to feed it information of like, this is the delivery information for this brand, this is the price point, this is what it specializes in, this is the unique selling points, this is what the material is made for, this is what all the features and benefits are. And then you just say, give me 10 different variations of an ad caption designed towards females 24 to 34 years old in the UK. It's going to be able to give you a much, much more accurate output because the inputs that you've given it are way more detailed. And this is the same for Meta. Like the more inputs that you give it and the more that you feed it, the more it's going to be able to identify the right buyers at the right time. And so, you might actually find as well, as you're going through your ad account, there might be some, let's say, like some ads that are maybe they're generating a much smaller percentage of the spend as to other ads. And you might be thinking to turn those off, but Meta will essentially be using that as like a passive kind of like brand building or like a touch point ad that isn't necessarily designed to convert, but necessarily just to reinforce the ad that is converting. So you might find one has like a decent ROAS, it's getting all the spend, it's pumping the conversions, and then you've got like three that are getting like 2 to 5% of the spend, and it's like, well, I may as well not even have those in there. But as you turn those off, you start to see the results diminish on this top one. And so this is another example of the variety where it can use different creatives at different times of the day to then sort of nurture and feed and sort of build up and build momentum towards a main ad that is then going to obviously do the heavy lifting and is then going to actually generate the conversions. But that ad on its own, the one that's getting all the spend, that might not be generating the right amount of purchases or the right amount of results just on its own without anybody seeing any other ads. So they can kind of work as part of a funnel, and they can kind of work together to be able to generate results. And so that's why it's just so important to have that variety in your ad account. So if you are able to implement this and just go for more volume and more variety in your ad account, then I'm very sure you will start to get much, much better results. And if you do, obviously drop a comment. I would love to hear about that. But until next time, I'll see you later.